Hello everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at this Philips 175 watt Mercury Vapor consumer grade NEMA head area light. Now, there's a couple different things there in that title that I want to go over. The first is Philips. Interestingly enough, this is a Philips fixture. Why is that interesting? Well, usually this style of fixture from the North American Philips company or corporation is labeled Norelco, their North American Philips name. Norelco, what you still see today on the, razors and electric shavers and things like that Philips offers. But back in the day, it was used on lighting provided by Philips. So it's interesting that this one just has the Philips name on the badge and not the Norelco name. I do have another one of these fixtures that I made a video of a very long time ago. That's a 150 watt high pressure sodium with a 175 watt mercury vapor ballast. It has one of those retrofit bulbs in it, but it has the Norelco name on it, and it has the exact same design as this fixture with the grooves in the head. I do believe that the 35 watt low pressure sodium NEMA head that I have has a Lustra name on it, and it also has the same groove design as this Philips one here. So I wonder if Lustra had anything to do with Norelco and Philips. Interesting design comparison there. I'll have to get all of them together sometime. But anyway, that's the name. It's just interesting they put Philips on it and not Norelco. The second part of that title is consumer grade NEMA head. Now, of course, a lot of the consumer grade 175 watt mercury vapor area lights have the 10 or 9 inch refractor assemblies. This, of course, has the normal full size 12 inch refractor assembly, but it doesn't have the little clips up here to clip onto the head to consider it a NEMA head. It actually screws on from the inside. And of course, being like that, you cannot reach in here and touch the ballast, for example. It's not open. The reflector assembly, stops right up here, so you can't see anything past into the housing itself. So that's the interesting things with this particular fixture. The last thing is a story on how I acquired this thing. So my bosses at work know that I'm interested in lighting, and whenever they're renovating or taking lights down, upgrading, or doing something like that, they ask me if I'm interested in whatever it is. Now, this actually was something they didn't ask if I was interested in. They just sent it over to us here, and I've had this for a couple years now, just sitting in the garage, and I haven't had a chance to fix it up and enjoy it. So we're finally getting around to doing that. So yes, this is a fixture that came from work. The owner of the company saved it for me and sent it over on one of our trucks with supplies, and here it is. So that's a cool little snippet of information as well. Now, this fixture didn't come with a bulb, but we do have a bulb in it today as we take a look around. And I don't know if this arm is original to the fixture either, because the Norelco version that I have and the Lustra version that I have found all have the standard arm that curves and comes down and has the one bracket, where this one has kind of like a 3-point bracket. You can put your bolt here and then screw it on. I like this design a lot more than just the curved arm with the 4 bolts. This holds up better, I feel. Okay, so let's finally take a look around this fixture after sharing a million paragraphs of information. Let's move this heavy hammer head out of the way. I just put that underneath there so it's a little bit more presentable for you. Okay, so inside here we have a bulb, and like I said, this is not original to the fixture, but I thought it would be kind of period correct maybe. It's a Philips Westinghouse lamp. Picked this up at the Restore a very, very long time ago, and it's pretty clean in there. It doesn't look like it has many hours on it, if any at all. So I thought, hey, that's a perfect fit for this fixture, a Philips Westinghouse lamp. Very nice, still has the big lifeguard electrodes in there. Look at that. That's going to be fun to watch turn on later. Set that aside, and we'll take a look inside here. So, as you can see, unfortunately, this does have a crack in it, and that's just what happens to these refractor assembly things over time. It's so common. They just, heat up, expand, contract, and all that, and they just crack. Not much you can do about it, really. This is kind of a thinner refractor. It's not the thickest one I've ever felt, but it's not the thinnest thing either. And as you may be able to see here, it says Light on the assembly. Let me see if we can get a better view of that. Hopefully it focuses for you. You can see it there. Light. Not sure who that is, but we do have some information here on the other side as well. Acrylic, naturally, and a patent number, 4175661, it looks like there. Interesting. Okay, of course, inside we have the pretty standard screws to hold the assembly on, which you still see in consumer grade bucket area lights. So we'll have to take that off and see what waits for us inside. Of course, here on the end, we have all kinds of wires. I'm not sure what is going on here, to be 100% honest with you. I think these were all sticking out the end, and I just shoved them in there so I could bring it home easier. But yeah, this was on one of their warehouses, and I don't know if it just never worked or what, or I'm sure obviously it got upgraded to an LED, but we get it to enjoy here and now. So we're going to get this off. I got to get the appropriate tool to do so, of course. Good. I always like broken off screws. Wonderful. Just the best thing ever. And now I can't even get it out of here. Of course, we can't have anything nice. Both of the heads of these screws broke right off. But you know what? If you look in here, we have two options. We have the outer ones or the inner ones. So we're going to try to put it back on using these two here. But let's get a little bit closer and take a look at what lies inside here. Okay. And even closer. So obviously we have ballast in there. We'll take it out, of course, and see exactly what brand is on it. Some type of fly or bug. Oop, there it goes. Yeah, there's our ballast. And of course, let's take a look at the sticker here. So yes, Philips 175 watt dusk to dawn security light. That's its model number. 120 volts, 60 hertz, 3.0 amps. And you can see faintly there at the bottom, North American Philips Lighting Corporation. Kind of hard to read, but sure enough, even has a Philips logo up there in the right-hand corner. Okay, what do we have for a photocell while we're at it? Because we're obviously going to have to take this thing apart. Oh, I think it's seen better days. Two of, I'd say 80-something. But of course, this is covering up our information, and it doesn't look like we'll be able to see it. So 2 of 80-something. Area Lighting Research Incorporated. And it looks like it's cracked here on the top, but it looks like it used to be blue, as you can see. Okay, so definitely have some moss or something going on around here. Got our, interesting, there's not a screw in the middle. Our photocell socket, that is. And of course, it's mounted to our arm here, so we're going to have to try to take that off. But I'm sure we're going to have a little bit of a hard time. That looks like it's pretty rusted on there. So let's see if I can get the ballast out of here. The screws holding the ballast in there are definitely in there. But surprisingly, the bolts here are loosening just fine, thankfully. But that'll at least allow us to take the arm off of here so it's easier to work with. These screws came out a lot easier. Gave it a little bit of WD-40 in there, let it sit for a while. I was much more worried about these than the ones in the refractor here because, again, we do have the other option. So, I mean, usually these at the edge, they get a lot more rusty. Water gets in there easier. These are hidden up inside. So that worked out much better. And those screws are in pretty good shape too. So we have a loose socket here. And it looks like this wire is starting to be a little bit crispy. Okay, good. We do have screw terminals underneath the socket. That's positive, so we will be able to put some new wires on that. Let's go ahead and loosen it the rest of the way since it already wants to fall off. There we go. So there's our lamp holder bracket. Looks like you could do a couple different style of sockets on that. Okay, we have our screws in here. There they are. And yep, there's our screw terminals underneath. Very nice. That'll be much easier to repair than if it was, you know, crimp connected into there. Okay, of course we have our ballast here. So let's go ahead and see what we got. Oh, that label is crispy. Yeah, you're not going to be reading that anymore. It's a very thin ballast. It's not very thick. It is wound with the paper in between each of the windings. I want to say, based on experience with these, it probably was an advanced ballast. It's usually what's inside of these. Very nice ballast for sure. I'm sure it'll work just fine for us. Too bad we can't read the label anymore. And down below, we have a bunch of dirt and our photocell socket. So now it comes time to clean all this up. Just cleaning up some of the wiring, got the socket off here, and we had a wire that just kind of connected to the in for the photocell, and then of course they expected, you know, the consumer to connect it to that. But these little crimp wire nuts have certainly seen better days. They're starting to crack apart. So we'll go ahead and get rid of them while we can. If we squeeze it a little bit there, they tend to just fall right apart. And that gives us a little bit of an inside here to keep as much wire as possible. So we'll cut that off, and we'll just replace those with regular wire nuts. That'll just be safer anyway. And here's a ground wire. Obviously they never used it, they just capped it off. So we'll use it, since we'll probably put a grounding cord on it anyway. So we'll just get rid of that. Okay, so we're slowly getting it cleaned up here. Now we just need some little brush action and vacuum, and we'll be back. Got all this stuff brushed off. It's not perfect, and I'm not looking for perfect. I'm just looking for a little better than it was, and it cleaned up a little bit. Now, obviously, we could make this white somehow or get a whole new one because it's dirty, but I'm not looking, you know, for it to be perfectly restored. We're looking for cleaner, and I can tell you what, that's definitely a lot cleaner. Now, same goes for the ballast. We got light surface rust off of it. Just give it a little bit of cleaning. Definitely no more information now. But again, it's a little better than it was. So these things that are rusty, I think I'm going to let sit in some WD-40, clean them up a little bit. Again, it won't be the best thing ever, but it'll be a little bit better than it is. Rubbed out the inside here with a little brush just to clean it up a little bit. And it looks like everything else looks fine in here, the wires and whatnot. You can see at the very bottom, right there, where the wires have been touching the ballast for some time, and the heat has definitely been affecting them, but it hasn't gotten through the insulation. It's just kind of like made a rough spot right there, so that's positive. Of course, we still need to do something about the refractor assembly, but at the moment, I want to continue focusing on this, so I think we're going to start getting it put back together. Let's start wiring this back up. So, we have our main electric in here, which we will in a while put with our power cord, whatever we choose to use. So we'll just get that ready here. Okay, so that'll go to our power cord. This red one here goes to the light, or whatever we're turning on after the photocell. So let's go ahead and get that done here. And this one will go to the 120 volt of the ballast, and thankfully that is labeled on here. We got this ground that really likes to be in everybody's way. I really don't want it yet, so we're gonna put it over there. And of course, we have our power after the photocell here. We'll put that with our 120 volt for the ballast. Very good. We have two commons. One of them will go to the socket, and this is still good. We'll brush that off a little bit just to give it some better connection. And our other common will go to our power cord that will supply the fixture. We have lamp here that will go to the other side of the socket. Now in a perfect world, we would replace this wire with the same type of connector that's on the common here, but we're just going to loop it around. That'll do the exact same thing. Okay, and we have our neutral coming from the photocell as well. So let's go ahead and get that done up. We can hook up our stuff back on here. If you can't remember what one goes where, you can just look at the position of where these go. So one's darker, that's going to be our positive. One's lighter, that's going to be our negative. But you see how there's a screw here and a screw here? If you twist that over, you'll find that goes to the shell of the socket. So that's our negative. And this screw right here, if we follow it to the other side, goes to our center. So that's another way to just quickly figure out what one goes where if you're not entirely sure. So obviously it's going to be sitting like this, and the wire wants to be like that. So we're going to go ahead and put it back on there the same way the wire has already been sitting for all this time. And we'll tighten it down. Now, of course, we have our lamp, and that kind of reaches around here and will go around this terminal. So it looks like it wants to sit like this. Curved hook on the wire there. And we'll loop that around the screw. Tighten that down. Very good, not too tight. And it definitely pulled it a little bit. We'll just try to reposition. Very good. So there, our socket is all done. And of course that goes back onto the bracket here. But let's see what else we can do here. We still need a power cord of some type. And we have this incredibly long ground wire. That's just so hilarious. Okay. Well, I have the screws for this sitting over here cleaning. So I guess once those are done, we'll get the socket back on the bracket here. While getting the screws ready for the socket, I also took some time to find some appropriate screws here and thread them into the holes to hold the refractor assembly once we get that all done. So that's good. We have some screws here for that. And let's see here. Obviously, this bracket's going to be sitting on top of the ballast like so. And it seems that the wires want to sit like, you know, they need to be underneath. Okay. And we used to have, you know, some type of separation here so that things wouldn't touch the metal. And obviously that fell apart and is gone. Now, you really could just, I suppose, let it be and hope it doesn't touch. But what I've done over time is just kind of put some electrical tape over the bottom of it, just to be safe. It doesn't really affect the look of it in any way. It just makes sure that you're safe with it. So let's go ahead and do that. Is it perfect? No, but it definitely gets the job done of making sure that it doesn't touch the metal. So, socket wants to sit like this. We will allow it to do so. And get our wires underneath there. And of course we need to get our screws back inside. So we'll get those down in the corners here. And we'll have to line them up on the bracket. We'll get one side started, then the other. And of course we just want it snug. We don't want it overly tight. That'll crack the porcelain. Okay, there we go. We got our socket back on here. And our ballast looks happy. So I suppose it's time to get it back in the enclosure. This ground wire we're still having a lot of fun with. I could have taken it out, but I didn't. So here it is. I also have this neutral we want accessible. It's kind of hard having two different things to line up at once and making sure nothing's getting pinched or in a place that it should not be. But it appears that everything is sitting okay for the moment. So that's positive. So now it looks like it's come time to really get this wired up all the way. Now these two, we have the common from the ballast and the common from the photocell socket, because I can't think right now. So we have our common and our 120 volt and our ground naturally. So, of course, we need to find some type of power cord for this. Our power cord is all ready. Now with this one, we need to feed it through this little hole here. Now note before doing this, depending on where you're going to install it, what arm style and stuff, that your plug actually fits through that pipe or arm. Because sometimes if it's a right angle plug or something, it will not fit. So I chose this one specifically because the wire is slightly smaller. It'll fit through this hole. And of course the plug is straight. It'll go through nicely as well. So again, with this style of cord, we want to find the flat side and the ribbed side. So the ribbed side is our neutral. So we'll get that put together here with our other neutrals. There's our neutral. Now we have our positive line in here. So we'll bring that one over and get it with its friend. And of course we have our incredibly long ground wire here, which really does not need to be that long. So I think we're going to shorten it a bit. So looks like right there is an appropriate length. We'll keep that wire for some other project down the line. And again, we'll put a wire nut on that. Good and good. Wonderful. Hey, look at that. We got it all wired up. And now we just need to secure down our socket and everything here. So we got our bolts here. Thankfully, they're in great condition, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to try to center the ballast here the best I can, because you can get it to one side or the other a little bit more. And then we'll get this down in there. Let's get one of these screws started. Do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll tighten them down, but not with too much torque. Great. Wonderful. Snug, but not overly tight. Trust me, I've learned my lesson many times. Okay. So, really the next thing is we have these wires here that we need to tend to. And they really want to end up by the socket over here, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. But if I put them over here, maybe they'll stay away a little bit. And of course that tells me, where should we put our zip tie? Well, right inside here so we can't pull the wire out. Homemade cord restraint. That'll work just fine. Of course, we'll get rid of the excess here because that looks not good. There we go. Okay, so the wires, I'm going to try to keep over on this one side here. I just want to keep them away from the heat. And the wires that are coming off the socket here, looks like they'll kind of help with that. Wonderful. Hey, we got it all wired up. Very nice. Now, we'll set that aside for right now and turn our attention to cleaning up the refractor here. Now, I'm not really sure the best way to go about this. There's a lot of different grooves going on in here. We got the vertical ones on the inside and the horizontal ones on the outside. And as you can see, they certainly get clogged up with dirt. Now, if you can do it outside, you know, spray it down, use a scrub brush or something. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this one, but we'll definitely use some type of a bristle brush with water, and that should clean it up quite nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just got done cleaning up the refractor assembly here, and as you can see, it's much better, but again, not perfect. Doesn't need to be, but boy, this cleaned up nice. Look at that. Wow. Definitely a lot of dirt on there. All the water coming off of it was incredibly dirty. So I think this cleaned up very nice. Very pleased with that. Now, I just need to dry it off and we can install it. Got our screws ready for our new positioning here rather than using the outside ones. And we got the assembly dried off the best we can do for now. I'm going to line it up. You can see here it's a little dirtier. I believe that was in the back, so we're just going to keep it that way. And twist that into place. Look at that. Isn't that nice? They gave us two different options. Ah, very nice. Very nice. I'm liking that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do really is get it all installed. And Well, where am I going to put this thing? It needs an arm. So I'm going to go ahead and get the arm cleaned up, and we'll get it installed, and then we'll take a look at it turning on. From the last clip to now, it's definitely been a minute, but we have the arm all cleaned up, the paint is removed, and the fixture is all installed, wired up, and ready for demonstration. So let's get right into that. Almost forgot to mention the bulb we have in here. It's the Philips Westinghouse Deluxe White. It does still have the lifeguard electrodes and lifeguard arc tube, so I think it's quite fitting for this fixture. Again, a Philips fixture and a Philips Westinghouse bulb. Okay, let's turn the lights off. And we'll plug it in here in 3, 2, 1. Oh, didn't want to go in there. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Very nice and quiet. Very quiet, really. Wow. For I'm sure all the service years this thing put into it, that ballast is in amazing shape. Okay, well, we'll let it warm up. I'm going to say that we're at full brightness. I have the lux meter down on the floor here, and we seem to have leveled out between 76 and 78 lux. It seems to hover between there, and as you may notice, there's very slight flickers in the light output here. I've let it go a little long here in the warm-up process. It has been stable at about 78 lux for a little while, but I wanted to see if we could get that flickering to go away. And it seems it has slowed down now, but it's still kind of there. And that could be two things, you know, just that the fixture is old, or I'm thinking more it has to do with the bulb and the fact that I don't know the last time this bulb was on, probably a very, very, very long time ago. And just the mixture of all of that settling back into itself is, I'm sure, just causing this to happen. But it is seeming to slow down, and that's positive. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how well it's lighting everything up. So here we go, lighting up this side of the garage. It's definitely doing a nice job of that, and I'm sure with this bulb having a decent amount of hours on it, it's not going to light it up as brightly as a brand new 175 watt Mercury vapor bulb would, but it's definitely giving off a very nice warm light. So let's take a closer look at the fixture here. You can see kind of a warmish green light, almost yellowy. See the arc going in there in the center of your screen. I'm sure this stage in the life of the bulb, it's probably more of a white arc tube, and then eventually it'll turn, you know, completely black, kind of like this one has here. But this one definitely still has a lot of time left on it, but it's just not as bright as a brand new bulb. Again, the example here, you know, these Mercury vapor bulbs last forever. And if you've seen the video of this McGraw-Edison fixture here, you probably have seen this bulb turn on. While it is quite dim, it does still work. These bulbs are amazing in their lifespans. So yeah, that's it. Lighten up the garage here. Does a wonderful job of that. And we'll take a quick look at the lux meter here. Again, getting about 77 lux, a lot of glare on that little screen, but that's what we end up with. And how do I, there we go, we'll get it to zoom back out. Very nice. Well, I suppose let's watch it cool down. Look at the look at the heat of that electrode there. I really do hope you enjoyed this video cleaning up this Philips consumer grade NEMA head bucket light is what I have chosen to call it. And well, it cleaned up very well, and I'm very happy with the results here. It's right here on the wall with some other fixtures, and I'm, well, very pleased again with how it looks with its friends. So once again, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and also please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.